The new executive series would not be possible without the tremendous support of our sponsors. Thank you to all of our sponsors who have continuously supported the LVEDC mission during this time. Thank you to our presenting sponsor, Lehigh Valley Health Network. Our premier sponsor, Capital Blue Cross. Our gold sponsors, BB&T, now Truist, and Fitzpatrick Lenson Buba. Our event sponsors, Crayola and Good Shepherd. Our interview sponsor, Follett. Our production sponsor, Countess Communications. Our host, ArtsQuest. Thanks again to all of our sponsors. We hope you enjoy the new executive series.
Hi, I'm Dr. Brian Nestor, President and Chief Executive Officer at Lehigh Valley Health Network. At LVHN, we offer nationally recognized care close to home. Today and every day, our focus is on the health of our community. We know that a healthy community paves the way for a healthy economy. We're proud to partner with Lehigh Valley Economic Development Corporation as we work together to make the Lehigh Valley strong, vibrant, and safe.
Hi, I'm Don Cunningham, President and CEO of the Lehigh Valley Economic Development Corporation, and this is our new executive series. Thank you for joining us. We've had a very interesting last 18 months here in the Lehigh Valley, where no short of 15 of our major employers and most prominent companies have named new leaders, new presidents and CEOs. We have a new group of folks that will be shaping the economy and the future of the Lehigh Valley for many years to come. And because of our situation in these recent times of not being able to gather together, we thought the next best way was to do some video interviews so you all could get to know the new folks leading our companies and they could tell a bit of their stories. Today we're very fortunate to have Jean Claude Dubacher, who's the President and CEO of Braun Medical, with us. Jean Claude, thank you for joining us and give you an official Lehigh Valley LVEDC welcome, although I know you've been here since 2019.
Thanks a lot for having me.
Thank you for being with us. For everybody out there, I want to give a little bit of Jean Claude's background. Jean Claude joined Braun as president of Braun in 2019, and he was named chairman and CEO in January of 2020. He succeeds Carol Neubauer, who many of us have known for a long time, being involved in the Lehigh Valley community and the business community. And Jean Claude has begun his term as chairman in August of 2020. He came to Braun with more than 15 years of experience in the healthcare industry, previously working for Johnson & Johnson as head of commercial operations for the surgical division, covering Europe, the Middle East, and Africa. He has a law degree from the University of Zurich, Switzerland, and an MBA from Harvard Business School. He recently settled here in the Lehigh Valley with his family, his wife, and two twin daughters who are 12 years old. And Jean Claude has been all over the world. He's lived in Germany, Spain, and Puerto Rico. He was born and raised in Switzerland, and now he finds his way here to the Lehigh Valley, Bethlehem, in this prominent role in one of our largest employers and best known international companies based here in the Lehigh Valley at Braun. So thank you again for being with us. Thank you for being part of it, and thank you for Braun's ongoing commitment to the Lehigh Valley and Bethlehem. So it's been an interesting last 6 months, I would imagine, being here during this challenging time of COVID. Hopefully you and the company have been adapting well through that period.
Yeah, you know, it's quite some timing to start a new role in a crisis like that. But, you know, we as a company have been at the forefront of the crisis. We make IV solutions, which every COVID patient needed, right? And during the very critical time in New York, where we had all those cases in New York, and then in other states afterwards, we really had the chance to live up to our commitment to help, and I was very, very proud of the whole organization, the difference we could make for the customers, and then especially for the patients.
And Braun has been growing tremendously for the last 5-10 years, and for the folks who may not be familiar with Braun, you want to talk just a little bit about the medical products that are made?
Yeah, so we are a pharma medical device company, and we are actually active in many different areas. Core of our offering is the IV therapy. So when you think about any patient who goes into the hospital, the first thing which needs to happen is getting an IV set, so that you can keep the patient hydrated, or you can administer medication very fast. And everything which goes with this IV therapy, including pumps, including all the medication, we actually make. So that's a big part of what we make. But then we have several different other companies. We are in the compounding, medication compounding business. We have a company which is focused on implants, so knee, hip, and other implants. So we are really broad, but all focused on healthcare and
you mentioned pharma. There is a unit of B. Braun that is making pharmaceuticals.
Yeah, exactly. And we actually have a big manufacturing site in California. Yeah. Where we produce all of that, and we're in the process of then opening a second one in Florida. I think the unique thing about us versus other pharma medical device companies is that we are producing domestically. Right? We have made the decision several years ago that we want to invest here, we want to be close to the customer, being able to address needs very fast.
Yeah, and we're very grateful for that. And you're in the process right now of an expansion of the manufacturing facilities that are in Hanover Township, Lehigh County, in addition to what's in Bethlehem, on the west side of Bethlehem. And the products that are made here in the Lehigh Valley around Bethlehem and the airport are the IV based products, correct?
Yeah, correct.
Yeah.
These are all the connection and set devices, but and also making products for pain control. So anything which requires plastic, we make here. Yeah, I'm actually really happy that we can expand. Anybody who can drive by sees now the big expansion is the structure is up, and we are now.
Right, and that's for people who may not know where, just kind of just south of the airport.
Exactly.
In Hanover, Lehigh, a huge expansion, which now with the total workforce of B. Braun in the Lehigh Valley is now is.
Yeah, in that all of Lehigh Valley, it's over 2,000 people.
2,000 people.
Yeah.
One of the largest employers, and for those of us who have been around a little while, we remember back to the days of Braun Medical on 8th Avenue in Bethlehem, which was a small medical device company that was ultimately purchased by B. Braun, which is a German-owned company that is internationally based, and B. Braun has a large market share of medical device across the U.S. and internationally, correct?
Yeah. Correct. Yeah.
So it's really a tremendous story, and what's interesting about this region, and I know as you've settled in here, is that, and we sit here on the site of the former Bethlehem Steel, where our economy at one time was dominated by large, heavy industry like steel and auto, but we have transition now where manufacturing is still the second biggest part of the economy here in the Lehigh Valley, with 35,000 workers in manufacturing, 7.5 billion in GDP. A big part of that is B. Braun and medical device manufacturing, and now today it's very varied, the type of products that are made here. As somebody like yourself who's worked for the company in Johnson & Johnson and all around the world, what are your thoughts about American manufacturing and the prospects for it, the competitiveness of it, and what makes manufacturing in America still a viable entity? Yeah,
so when I look specifically here at the plant we have here, it is impressive, the talent we have, the capabilities we have, all the capabilities we have built over the years. Now we even have an apprenticeship program to continue to do that. And when you look at all those capabilities and the dedication of the people, it's a great future. This is a big reason why we decided to stay here. Now, it's not easy. right? Because labor costs across the US are much higher than in many other places. But this is the pressure. We just have to stay competitive. Now we just need to get better. And we need to think outside of the box of being creative, right, and get those efficiencies and productivity gains. But we have the right foundation, and I think across the US we have the right foundation. Yeah. I mean, we have a long history of having manufacturing capabilities. That hasn't gone, and where it has gone, we can rebuild it. And so I think we have a great future for that.
Yeah, and how much for B. Braun, how much has technology and automation and innovation played a role in profitability and viability?
Yeah, it's absolutely critical. I mean, especially innovation is so important because the market is changing very fast. When you think about digitalization happening, the way you interact with customers, the way hospitals interact with the patients, it's all changing at a rapid speed now, especially with COVID. We have seen that, right? Things are changing, and that provides these great opportunities for innovation, but it also puts the pressure on the company to be really there and have those innovations, because otherwise you're going to be left behind.
So with the nature of the product being medical supplies, during the last 6 months, during the COVID pandemic, what has occurred with B. Braun? Has the company managed to thrive making the product? Have there been challenges or declines because of the situation?
No, we have been really able to excel, and I think we were talking about innovation, especially on the innovation side. We could prove how fast we actually can do things in a new way. The FDA gave us several emergency use authorization, where we made innovation possible within a couple of months. Something which we had never done before, but bringing everybody together, thinking cross-functionally, creative, how could we make a difference for the patients, and then implement it fast. These were great examples how we really were able to excel, despite obviously the pressure, right? I mean, we had to take measures in our plants, in our offices. People are still to this day working from home, and that's not easy, right? Families who have school kids who were at home, and all those different challenges. But again, I think
crisis does drive change. Necessity, the mother of invention. There'll probably be some lasting changes to procedures at companies like B. Braun because of what we've been through.
Yeah, we actually, after a couple of months, we put in place a project to identify what are all the things we want to keep. Because we did have the concern that all those benefits we're seeing now, that once we're going back, we're not gonna keep them. And so we identified across the company, what do we want to keep, what do we want to keep focusing on, and just benefit from it going forward.
Yeah. Well, you had mentioned talent, and I'm glad to hear you talk about that, because one of the things that my organization, Lehigh Valley Economic Development Corporation, is focused on in concert with our investors and members like B. Braun is making sure that we have this connection of our educational system, our vocational technical schools at 9th through 12th grade, our community colleges, our four-year schools, connected to employers in terms of what the economy needs. And I think B. Braun has really been at the forefront of connecting to schools, the workforce development system, on talent. I also think that's why manufacturing continues to thrive here, is because folks here get trained in those skills. Do you see talent as a critical part of long-term success?
Yeah, when I started in January, we were talking about what needs to be the focus for the company, what do we want to achieve, and one thing we said is we need to invest in our people. Development of people is absolutely critical, and it has been, and it will be even more now going forward, because again we are committed to compete here and have our manufacturing and everything here, right? And with all the pressures we have, the only way we can make that successful if we have the right people with the right skills. And that's why skill development is just most critical for us and for our success.
But I think you bring a really unique perspective, being very international yourself, having been born and raised in Switzerland, working for a German-based company, making products in America, educated in America and in Europe. So you're really kind of a man of the world, and it's wonderful to have you here as part of our community and part of our economy and company. What do you see as kind of the differences? Are there challenges with having a company that, in these times in particular, that is internationally based, multinationally based, where you have divisions in Europe, you have divisions in America, there's certainly different governments you have to deal with. Are there inherent challenges in that, or are there strengths in it?
I think it's both. You know, this old saying of think globally, act locally. Yeah. I think it's getting more and more important. Now when you look at supply chains and look at the pandemic situation, we really need to make sure that you have products close to the patients when they need it. Being able to act fast and being where things are needed is critical. So I think those global companies like us, we have realized that, and that's why we are set up this way. At the same time, you have all the benefits, right, of having a global setup. We, for instance, had the situation that there was one product which we don't produce here in the company, but we produce it in Germany, which was needed for COVID patients who had kidney failure. And unfortunately, there was just not enough product from the competition. And because we had the other subsidiary in Germany, we were able to work in close connection with the government to get special flights and bring products from Germany here so that we could deliver it to New York. So there are benefits both ways. Now, you know, the complexity gets bigger and bigger, especially when you think about regulations, because each country has its own regulations. When you look at our environment, each state has their own regulations, and then you find even cities who have their own regulations, which make it really complex and in many ways also cumbersome. But you know, the experience and the understanding and building this expertise across the globe helps then also overcome it.
So I have to ask you, how many different languages do you speak?
Yeah, so I feel very comfortable in 4. So I grew up Swiss German.
Okay. Then,
like every Swiss, I learned German in school because Swiss German is not a spoken language. So your writing is in German. Yeah. And news in Switzerland are in German, etc. So that was the second one. Then I'm in the process of learning English, right?
You do very well.
And
so much better than my Swiss German.
My wife is from Mexico, and so I had all the pressure from her parents to learn Spanish, and we lived in Puerto Rico and in Spain. So Spanish is probably the other one. I used to speak French well, but my brain capacity is very limited. So that portion of my brain which had French is now taken over by Spanish.
If you don't need it, right? Yeah, it's more important to speak your wife's language.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah. So one thing I know about you, we're talking a bit, a few times about your service in the Swiss Army. That it's as part of growing up as a Swiss citizen, it's mandatory service. So you're a veteran of really for life, right?
Yeah.
For the Swiss Army.
Yeah. It's a was a great experience, and I think it's part of the culture in Switzerland to go through the army training, and people say that's where you become a man. Now, in Switzerland, it's only mandatory to this age as for men, and at the time I served, there were basically no women who served. They also could just serve in a few areas. But so people would say that's when you become a man, and I think it has had a big impact on the culture, because so everybody who turns 20 needs to serve. And so whatever socioeconomic background you have, whatever education you have, everybody serves as a soldier. So you learn different backgrounds, you learn to interact with different backgrounds. When you grow up before in a bubble and just with your set of friends, that's where you really expanded, and that was a great experience for me. Now, so everybody goes through that.
So do you have to? So you went to the University of Zurich.
Yeah.
Was that? Were you able to go to school during that service, or do you have to take a break from the university to go serve?
Yeah. So the first year and a half, I took a break, and I just served. I decided then also to go to the officer academy. So I went through the officer academy, and then afterwards I served usually during the summer. So I went to university, my law degree, and in the summer.
And I think a lot of Americans might think, well, they think of Switzerland as a neutral country, so not realizing that the Swiss has a very large military force, primarily because they are neutral, right? Because they're not a member of NATO, so they have to be able to defend their country, particularly knowing what occurred throughout Europe in the 20th century in the Cold War.
Yeah. So this, the army has been in Switzerland, especially during the time when I grew up, and for my father and my grandfather, has been a central part of life, because especially during the Cold War there was a big fear that troops would overrun us, and because the Swiss truly believe that we need to protect and stay neutral. There was a big investment in it, but also people felt very connected with the army. And then actually also very you had then the reflection of the leadership in the army with the leadership in business. So when I went to the officer academy, and then I kept going, and became a captain in my mountain infantry company, my officer friends the same time were in leadership positions in the industry. So there was a very tight connection that you would serve as a leader in the army, and you would serve as a leader in
so it affected your career path?
Affected my career path. That now has all changed over the last 20 years. The army has been made smaller. I think globalization has made it also more difficult to do that, to do really both ways. But through my time, it was
so
big.
there are probably some lasting values or qualities that came from that experience that you have with you today in your leadership role.
Yeah. I think that experience really impacted me and shaped me. Yeah, I think one of the key things which I still try to do as today is this notion of servant leadership. I was fortunate enough to have leaders who really taught me that when you have your company, you're responsible for that company, whatever happens in the company, success or failure, and for each individual, you're responsible. And whenever something happens, you need to start with yourself first. What did I do wrong, as opposed to figuring out what they did wrong, right? What could I have done differently? And I serve people, and I serve my company, right? It's not the other way around, and trying to have that throughout my career. It's not always easy to do, but has been like a...
So in your history, the trajectory then was out of the university and out of the Army, captain in the Army. Did you go straight into Johnson & Johnson after coming to Harvard for the MBA?
No, so I went, became a consultant, then went to Harvard. I thought I might try investment banking, and went to do an internship with Goldman Sachs, and then realized that, no, that's not what I want to do. I went back to consulting and then started to work for med device and biotech clients. And that was then my inroad.
To the operational side.
Yeah, well, yeah, first on the commercial and then lots of improvement projects, and then, yeah.
Now I have to ask you, at what point did you get the knife, the Swiss Army knife? When did they give you that?
Very first day.
First day?
Very first day. Yeah. Because you had to eat with that one.
Yeah, you had
so,
I remember as a
don't
kid
get
having
another
a
knife.
Swiss Army.
Yeah,
amazing, right?
Yeah,
do you still carry one?
I have several.
You have several.
Yeah, I have. With all the moves, we have always taken them, and soon my daughters will get, each one will get one as well. Now I still think like I'll keep them for a little bit longer. But they will get
do you
one
still
as well.
retain your status as a captain in the Army, then a reservist?
Yeah. So what happened then when I moved here, I first continued to serve, but it's very difficult, right? And then I sort of got a permit to leave, and until 41. Now, don't want to talk about how old I am, but I passed that, so I'm now a true veteran, and I don't. And then you know, with the after many years ago when I moved to Boston, that was not possible anymore, right?
So, you know, having grown up in Switzerland and lived in many different places, how are you and your family finding life in the Lehigh Valley, in our part of the world?
Yeah, very, very good. You know, the Lehigh Valley, I didn't know anything about it. I need to be very frank about that. But I remember the first time I came here as part of the process, I met Carol Neubauer, and I had really no idea about the place. And in the evening, I called my wife and said, "Hey, Lisette, you need to see this. This is a fantastic place." And she came then with the kids. A few weeks later, we came back from Europe again to look at it, and we all loved it right away. You know, growing up in Switzerland, it's green here as well, so we like that. But then having lived in cities across the globe, this proximity to New York City, to Philadelphia, you get both of it. And then people here are very down to earth and very welcoming. Yeah. Of all our moves, I think this has been the easiest one for us.
That's so great for us to hear.
Really happy to hear.
Any particular favorite locations or sites, you, your wife, or the girls, restaurants or downtowns, anything that jumps out?
Yeah, so we definitely like Bethlehem downtown. And I think what it really distinguishes it from other places, it's very lively. Right, you can go in the evening and there are people around, so it's one of a place we really like. And then everything green. We like the trail, to go for walks or bike rides. I grew up skiing, and so my girls are also big skiers, and so last December they started in the ski club and went to the Poconos skiing.
Okay,
It's
a little smaller
minutes.
than the Swiss Alps.
A little smaller, but still snow, and you can ski, so we love it.
Yeah, that's great. Now the girls are at Moravian Academy.
Yeah,
and they've adjusted well. I mean, they've spent their life moving.
They spent their life moving. So the first day they had in school last year, when they started in the evening, I came home and asked them, so Anna, Mara, how was the first day? And said, yeah, it was very good. So 1 to 10, how good was it? And then I said, yeah, I think it was a 9. And then I asked, so why a 9? And said, well, it wasn't real school yet, but it was really good. So they love it. Yeah. It's a great place, and you know, important to us to have the academics and the values, and being down to earth, right? And I think that's what.
Well, as you are, and as the company is, it's always interesting when you know, I've been fortunate enough to be in different capacities for 30 years in roles in the, you know, the community, and have known B. Braun and B. Braun leaders, and it doesn't surprise me that someone like yourself, with your values and your character and down-to-earthness, is part of it. I mean, B. Braun's been a big part of the Lehigh Valley and Bethlehem community, and folks like Carol Neubauer and Bruce Hugel, who have been involved in so many leadership roles in so many organizations and charities across the Lehigh Valley. And I know it was important for Carol when you came in to really introduce you to a lot of the leadership. I was fortunate enough to attend a reception for you at Saucon Valley. It's been a challenge the last 6 months, but are you getting to meet people outside the company? I mean, most of your focus obviously has to be at work.
Yeah, no, I get it's more difficult, right? Yeah. Definitely, because you cannot have those receptions as we had before, but people are very inviting. We're fortunate, so we're getting good. Settled well.
Yeah.
Settled
well, and that's what, you know, part of why we wanted to sit down with you and get a chance to talk is for people to get to know you a little bit better while they can't meet you as readily in person. So with a little bit of time remaining, B. Braun, what do you see as some of the challenges, opportunities? Where are things going over the next couple years with the company? What's the focus area?
Yeah, so, you know, when I started in January, I did across the company listening sessions, meeting with people, and having group sessions just to get to know what's on top of the mind of people, where they see the areas of strength and development. And one thing which really struck me is that we all know how good our products are, and when people were talking about our products, they were saying, well, if God forbid something happens to a loved one, we want to have B. Braun products used for loved ones. So there is a very strong connection to the quality and safety of our products. And then I looked at our market share, which is great, but which could be better. And just saying, well, you know, given that we all believe in what we are doing, going forward, it really needs to be the objective to give access to many more patients, access of our products to many more patients. So we obviously want to keep growing, because growing will help us to fund innovation and increasing capacity more. But I think for us, the goal is really much more. So having these products, as I tell our people, we have a moral obligation to make sure that not only our loved ones get the products, but people are in good hands with our products. And so the goal is to double the patients we touch over the next few years, and really make a bigger difference.
That was the primary market focus, North America, or is it international?
North America. Yeah.
Okay, that's yeah. Well, there's no doubt you're going to be able to do that, and we're honored to have you here and be part of our community, and Jean Claude, to have you as part of the show. We look forward to letting everybody out there get a chance to meet you when the time is right and when it's safe. And thanks again for joining us.
Thank you for having me. It was a pleasure. Thank you.
We're all doing what we can to stop the spread of COVID-19, and that includes wearing a mask when out in public. How you remove your mask matters too. Take it off from the back and be careful not to touch your eyes, nose, or mouth. Make sure to wash your hands when you're done. You should also wash your mask after each use. Keep masks you've worn in a sealed container until you can wash them. And remember, my mask protects you, and your mask protects me.
The new executive series would not be possible without the tremendous support of our sponsors. Thank you to all of our sponsors who have continuously supported the LVEDC mission during this time. Thank you to our presenting sponsor, Lehigh Valley Health Network. Our premier sponsor, Capital Blue Cross. Our gold sponsors, BB&T, now Truist, and Fitzpatrick, Lenson, Buba. Our event sponsors, Crayola and Good Shepherd. Our interview sponsor, Follett. Our production sponsor, Countess Communications. Our host, ArtsQuest. Thanks again to all of our sponsors. We hope you enjoy the new executive series.